So this is building your first website. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Wade, and I'll be your guide for the class today. Our objectives to help you understand the benefits of having a website. It's kind of a mixed group of people that you normally attend this class. Some people have a website and are looking to do more with it. Most people are just trying to figure out how to build their first one, as the name suggests. We'll take you through the steps for planning and building a website, and also spend a good bit of time talking about website builder software packages, what they are, how they work. We're going to save some time at the end of class for a demo of one of those website builders. I think the demo kind of pulls together a lot of the conceptual material that we're going to be talking about for most of the class. So some questions I may defer to that demo at the end. So we'll start off by talking about why you may want to have a website for your organization. And that organization could be a for-profit business, or it could be a charity or religious organization. Lots of different organizations have websites. In fact, individuals can have personal websites for that matter. But one of the main things a website does for you, regardless of the type of organization, is it legitimizes your organization's operations. Lots of times, the first things people do when they hear about an organization is they go and Google it and trying to find their website. And if they don't find a website, it kind of gives a one impression. If they do find a website, it gives a little better impression. Another big advantage of websites is it is a great way to display and update your products and services, again, whether those are for-profit or charitable. It gives you a way to sell and promote from home, which is especially nice in these times, but it's always easier to sell from home. And you can tie in your other social media sites. So again, any organization typically has at least one, typically several social media sites, a Facebook business page, an Instagram business page, whatever. And your website is a way to link all those social media sites to your website and vice versa. So you can move traffic back and forth. People that find you on the internet via social media can get to your website. And we'll show you how that works. And of course, it's just your reach as well. You can probably all remember when, if you had a new business, you would put up flyers and around town and in the different stores, and maybe advertise in your local paper and the classified ads. Website can reach thousands and thousands more people than you could do through the old ways. So lots of good reasons to have a website. I'm going to talk about the four main types of websites and do a quick demonstration or show you an example of each of the different types. I think it's useful to understand the different types as you're deciding what type of website you might want to have. And hopefully by doing this, I can give you some ideas that you can take away from some of these sites of things you might want to do with your website. The first thing we'll look at is an e-commerce website. And an e-commerce website is where you are selling items via your website. So if your website has a shopping cart and a way to pay for items, that is an e-commerce website. And the first one I'm going to show you, or the one I'm going to show you, in fact, most of these are going to be from local businesses, small businesses in my little hometown here of Southport, North Carolina. We're going to go take a look at Tail Feathers. And this is a local business. And I'll point out some things about their website, and then we'll compare and contrast it with some of the other sites we'll look at. Right at the very top, they've got their email address and phone numbers. One thing you definitely want to do is to make sure people can reach you if they've gotten to your website and they have questions or they want to buy something. So you want to make sure they have your phone number and email. This is one way to do it, is to put it right there, which is one of the first things you see when you go to their website. We talked about linking to social media. They have a business Facebook page. So if someone hits their website, they can click here to get to their Facebook page. On the flip side, if somebody comes into their Facebook page and wants to go to the website, there's a link back to the website. Typically, businesses use their website as a way to make announcements, new items that are in the store, sales they have going on, specials they're running. That's another way to provide advertisements, and people can react to their advertisements. Whereas the website is a little more static, it doesn't change as much. You can change your website, your Facebook page every day if you want to. So that's sort of how that works. Let me go back to their website. It's a very simple website. It only has 2 pages, a home page and a shop page. We'll scroll down through their home page, and they explain what they do, and they actually sell unique hand-painted vintage furniture and accessories. They also have a physical store, and if you do have a physical location, it's good to do what they've done and put a picture of it on your website. That way, if someone's driving down the road trying to find you, they know what they're looking for instead of just looking for that street number, which is sometimes hidden and hard to see. And of course, they let you know over here the physical address if you do want to go to their store and their hours of operation. They also have several different ways to contact them in addition to email and telephone. So this is a typical insight form you can fill out. So you can click here and send them a message if you don't want to call them or send them an email. You can do it right from here. Put your name, your email, and type in your message and hit submit. Lots of variations and ways to add these to your website. Here they've done the same thing. I think if anything, they may be overdoing the contact part of things. They've got several different contact forms. They've got their email and phone number everywhere, but their philosophy is probably too much is better than too little. And there's no right or wrong. It's your website. You can do it the way you want to. So this is their homepage, and here's the shop. This is the real e-commerce part of their website. And come on, there it comes. So even though they are a physical store, you can buy things from their store from their website if you would rather do it that way. And here it starts to work and feel a little bit like Amazon or Walmart or other online merchants. If I want some coral reef liquid soap, I can click here if I'm interested in it. And it will take me to the product page for that item I'm interested in. It'll give me the price. I can pick the quantity if I want more than one. You can have multiple pictures. That's kind of up to you. They have just a single picture. If I do want to purchase that, I can add it to my cart. And it's now put that in my cart. You can tell I was in here before, and I've already got something in my cart. So I can keep shopping. And as you can tell, I can leave and come back on another day, and what I've already picked up would still be in my cart. I'm going to go back to the home page again, the shop page again. So I saw one thing I wanted to point out just as I was clicking the button. This is how they're showing that this is on sale. And you can do that easily with your website. You can take something and mark it as on sale. Lots of time that catches someone's eye. If I'm ready to check out, I can come up here to my shopping cart, and I can see from here that I've got 3 items in my cart, but I can click here. I can view my cart. Here's my cart. I can adjust the quantities. I can take things out of my list. And if I'm ready to check out, I can go ahead and select my pay with PayPal or pick another payment option and check out. So a fairly simple web page, but it's an effective one, and it's something that would be very easy for anyone with no technical background to build and maintain this website. Questions before I leave this one? Okay, so I'm going to pull this down a little bit so that doesn't keep covering up where I'm trying to go. Next, I want to talk a little bit about not-for-profit websites. Typically, people in this class, there's several people that are interested in building a website for a charity or a religious organization, and that would fall under the not-for-profit category. And there's not a lot of differences actually, but there are two pages that typically you would want to add in a not-for-profit that you're not going to see in the for-profit versions. And that is a way to allow people to donate money or items to your organization, and also provide a way for them to volunteer if they would like to volunteer. Most not-for-profits need donations and they need help. So those are things you want to have. We're going to look at another site. This is Bald Head Island Conservancy. Bald Head Island is an island just off the coast of North Carolina where I am. Now, this is a little more sophisticated website. It's a bigger organization, even though it is a local not-for-profit. You know, they've got a number of different pages, and in fact, they have sub-pages, which is another structure you can use on your website. If you have more than a few, you typically would break it into sub-pages like they've done. But to the two pages we were talking about, there's that donate front and center right in front of you when you come to their page. If you want to give them money, they are want to make it easy for you to do that. So I could just click here. And in that case, it actually takes me to another tab where I can go down and indicate which programs I want to support and fill out my information and donate now, and it'll hit my credit card. Very quick and easy to donate, which is what you want to do. You want to make it easy for the person trying to give you money. If someone wants to volunteer and give you their time as well, or instead of money, how to help. And under how to help, there's how to volunteer. Again, they have other things you could do. You can give their annual funds. They have other types of giving down here, other ways to donate. But if you want to donate your time, you can click volunteer, and that will open up their volunteer form, where again, you can say what types of events and things would you like to help with. And when you click on there, it gives you a form to click on and fill out so that they can get back in touch with you to, if it looks like a good fit. And let me just call out up here. Here's the social media links that they've got. They've got quite a few links to social media. Any questions?
Oh, I have one, Wade. That form that you fill out in terms of ways people might volunteer, is it already, are the things already structured, or could you write exactly the kind of help you want?
Yeah, you would, the way they typically work, and there's different website builders and there's some differences in how they work, but the typically way this works is that they would have a template, but you could go in and modify that template. So if you wanted to ask different questions or rephrase the questions or modify that form, you could modify that form. So
thanks.
Yeah, and we'll do a demo at the end and show you how some of that works, how you can work with those templates. Yeah. Okay, good question. All right, let's look at another couple and then we'll get in. This is a service website with a portfolio. That we're going to have two different types of service website. And the website with portfolio is for service organizations that provide something you can look at. Services is a little bit of a disregard or disadvantaged compared to products because you can't show exactly what you're getting. But with a portfolio, you can show examples of work you've done from other people. So if you do landscape architect work, you can take pictures of landscapes you've done. If you do home remodeling, you can show homes you've done. If you sell custom pottery, you can show pottery. So you can show people what you've done for other people, give them an idea. Photography would fall into that category. And I've got a link to a local photographer here in Southport. And kind of quickly go over their site because you'll see a lot of commonalities. They've got About Us here. That is a page that I think every website needs, especially a service organization, because you're going to be working with this organization and you want to know a little bit about them, just so you feel more comfortable with them. They do a great job of talking about themselves. It's a husband and wife team, and she has information about her and her vision. He's got his history and his vision. They've got fun facts about themselves. So they try to make you feel comfortable with them even before you've ever met them. So about us, I think it's important for any website, but especially services. They also have a contact us. This is an alternative to what we saw in the first website, where they just sort of had their phone number and email address kind of scattered around. It's more common to have a separate page called a contact us or something similar, where all that information is right here, including it's got the email and the phone number if you want to contact them that way. It also has that in-page contact form if you'd rather fill it out and just send a message right from the website, but it's all right here in one place. And then here's the portfolio itself. So again, they can't show me what the pictures they're going to take of me will look like, but they can show me work they've done for other families. And that's kind of how they've got theirs structured. It's by family. So this was the Sinclair family. You could look at their pictures. So you can kind of just scroll through the different families they've done work for. We're close to the beach, so you can tell that a lot of people use a beach theme. I'm sure they have other options though as well. But that's what the portfolio does. It shows you examples of their work. So you can see if the type of work that they do is what you think you'd be looking for. Questions about this one? Look into a couple of the pages briefly. Blogs, if you're not familiar with blogs, blogs are like a little magazine article, short, brief. Typically, it's talking about your area and things relevant to what you're doing or work that you've done, but it can be anything. It's just a way to engage people coming to your website and get people to come back to your website. And then, of course, pricing. If you want to give out pricing online, I think they do. They've got 3 different packages you can choose from. So let's look at one more. And this is another service website, but this is a professional service website. They're at the biggest disadvantage because they can't even show you pictures. Professional services is things like accountants, engineers, lawyers, therapists. So they really can't show you what you're going to get or even examples of what they've done for other people. But we'll take a look at one of these. This is, again, another local. She's a therapist. She's here in Southport. Has a very nice website. In some ways, this, I think, is the most professional looking of the websites. I really like her website. Looking at the pages, it's going to start looking familiar. She's got the home page. She has a blog, just like we talked about. She has a contact page where she's got all of her contact information. Her social media, she does a little differently. It's fixed so no matter what page you go to, it's always available. It kind of floats either at the top or the bottom. And since she is a therapist, she also has a way to schedule an appointment using the website, or you can call, whichever you're more comfortable with, or you can fill out her form here and send her a message. Again, making it very easy to get in contact with her. These are the different types of therapies that she provides. So she provides information about the types of therapy she does. Here's that About Us page, where she talks about herself, which is extremely important with something like a therapist you're going to be working with. Pretty much any type of professional services, again, you're going to be spending time with that person. You want to know something about them. So she talks about herself. What she also has, which is probably good for any type of website, but especially professional services when you're at a disadvantage in terms of what you can tell people, but you can tell people what other people have to say about you. So she's got a testimonials page here with testimonials from some of her clients. That's a nice thing to add. And one other thing that's, again, nice for, especially for professional services, it's not a bad idea for any website, is a frequently asked questions page. I like this because if you have a business, you know that you keep getting the same questions over and over. And so one thing, it keeps you from having to answer those questions over and over on the phone or via email. Plus, a lot of people would rather go to your website and get the answers instead of having to call you and talk to you on the phone. So, you know, the questions people ask: what I need to do to get started, what's going to happen in my first session, do you take credit cards, what if I have an emergency and need to reschedule, how much do my sessions cost? She's taken the typical questions and put them all in a frequently asked questions page. All right, questions before we move on?
I have just one. If you have a place on your website for people to send a message, do you access the messages that were sent to you by going into the website?
There's some variations in that, but typically you'll get an email saying that you got a message on your website, and it will have the information they put into the website in that email. So you don't have to go back into your website to check, is the way that I've seen those work most often. Yeah. And then you can get back to that person typically by, depending on what information they've given you, you can get back to them by phone or by email from your email without having to log into your site.
If you were worried that you get so many emails that you might miss one from the website, when you go into your website, would all the messages be right there, even if they were sent to your email?
I haven't seen any work that way, but there's, they're constantly coming up with new ways to do it. What I would probably do in that case is I would have maybe a separate email address that they all go to, and not have it mixed in with my personal email, is one thing people do. So whether it came from the site or whether they got your email address over here under contact, it would be a separate email address. So now whether they send it to their email address or they filled out the form, it's going to end up in the same place.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, good question. This is something I'm sure you've seen as I'm doing this, but I'll just call this out. You can set it up so as someone is heading up to the top of the page to click another tab, it pops up this little message. So it can detect that you're getting ready to leave. And that's when you kind of throw away, oh, don't leave, or before you leave, would you be interested in a free 20-minute phone consultation? And so you can click here and schedule it. So that's fairly common and pretty simple to add to your website. So that's what happened there. When I started to move my cursor up here, this popped up. All right, let's move on. So probably the next question is, can I really build my own website? And the answer, of course, is yes. These days, you don't need to know much about coding. You don't need to know anything about coding. You don't have to know anything about website design. We're going to be using those templates we talked about. So website builder software gives you a really nice looking website like the one we just looked at, with minimal effort and no technical expertise and no design expertise. For the design side, it uses templates that are pre-designed. So someone that does know about design has set them up with colors and fonts and templates and pictures and things that work together. And I'll show you examples of that a little bit later. But compared to when I did a website about 25 years ago, it is very simple now to build a website. So let's talk about the steps involved if you'd like to build a website and some of the things you're going to have to get. One of the things you're going to have to launch your website, not necessarily to build it, but to launch it, is a domain name. And the domain name is how someone gets to your website. So for example, that one we were just looking at, her domain name is southportfamilytherapy.com. So to get to her website, I would just open a tab and type southportfamilytherapy.com, and that takes me to her website. So that's what your domain name is. There's two variations. There's a custom domain name. So for example, I used to have a horse farm and it was called Eagle Springs Farm. And so my domain name was eaglespringsfarm.net. And I had to pay for that, custom domain names. There's a charge for those. If you're a not-for-profit or you're tight of money and you want to get started. Okay, all right, just checking something in the chat. You can get a free subdomain name. And the way that might work is that Squarespace is one of those website builder sites that I was talking about. And so if I was using Squarespace to build my website, they might give me a free subdomain. So my domain name may look something like this, eaglespringsfarm.squarespace.com. So squarespace.com is the real domain name. Anything prior to that Squarespace is a subdomain. This doesn't look as nice on your business cards, but it's free. So that is an option that you can look at if money is an issue. These are not that expensive. We'll look at that a little bit later in terms of how to find them and what they cost. But they're in a $20 to $70 a year category, so not that expensive really. You're going to need a web hosting provider. So your web hosting provider is your IT shop. That's where the computers and disk drives that manage your site, load your site, store your information live. And they have people that manage those computers and make sure they're up and running all the time. A couple of names you may have heard, HostGator and GoDaddy are a couple of the bigger hosting providers. They advertise a lot in sporting events. So they're going to store and service your website. And then you need the software you're going to use to actually build and update and maintain your website. And that's typically called a website builder platform or software. And what a lot of them do, and all the ones we're going to be talking about today do this, is they have an all-in-one option. So by that, it means if you go with them, they will take care of, help you get your domain name. They'll do the web hosting and they'll provide the website builder. So they handle everything. You deal with one company instead of three, which makes things easier, especially if this is the first time you've done it and you want to make it as easy as possible. That all-in-one option is a great way to go. So once I get to here and I've selected the website builder I'm going to use, the next thing I have to do is to pick a template. And the template is what I'll use to actually build my website. And then you just start creating your content, entering your words, putting in your pictures. And again, I think this will make more sense when we get to the demo at the end of class. But any questions here before we move on? A couple of considerations in making that decision, because that's the biggest decision, which website builder to use. And probably the biggest consideration is a continuum of easy to build versus the amount of customization available. And if you think about it, that is a continuum. If something is really easy to build, it's typically because you don't have a lot of choices. If you've got 3 choices, it's pretty easy to pick. If you've got 150 choices, it's more complex, but you've got more customization ability. So you need to kind of decide, where do you fall on that continuum? Do you want to make this as easy as possible and you're not overly concerned what it looks like as long as it looks nice? Or do you have a vision in your mind of exactly what you want your website to look like and you don't want to vary from your vision? That's this end of the continuum. That someone that doesn't really care is over here. Most people are somewhere in the middle, but there's website builders throughout this continuum as well. So that's a consideration. Pricing is also always a consideration, but luckily the prices don't vary dramatically among the options. But there's the way that the pricing works is a little unusual. First, there's some of them have what's called ad supported. Sometimes they call it unlimited trial with ads. But basically, if you allow them to put ads on your website, they don't charge you anything. They make up for it in the marketing business they get by getting free marketing on your site. If you want to go with that option, you need to check and see exactly how that works because it can vary from one website builder to another one. Most of the ones I've looked at, they're just putting their advertisements on your website. They're not putting third-party advertisements, but you want to see if that is the case. And if so, can you have any control over what type of ads they're going to put on your website? If it's a church site, you don't want to have certain types of things popping up on your church websites. Websites. So look into that if you're going to go with that route. And then they also are set up with a tier structure. And that's kind of like your cell phone, where there's different cell phone plans. It's the same concept. I'm going to go to Squarespace, which is one of the website builders, and show you what their pricing looks like, just to give you an idea. So they've got 4 different plans ranging from $14 to $49. So this is where you get the difference more is for within the tiers of a plan, not between website builder A versus B versus C. And I like the way they've got it set up here. It kind of makes it clear what I'm talking about. If you start with the personal, which is probably the place to start, it's the cheapest one. It shows you everything you get. But if I want something down here, I've got to now bump up a level. If I need some of these things, I got to bump up another level. If I need these things, I got to go to the top level. Luckily, they typically work like a cell phone plan. So if I start with personal, I'm building away and I select something that I want, and something's going to pop up and say, oh, you can only do that if you've got our business plan. Do you want to upgrade? And you can say, yep, bump me up a level. So now you've got that. Or you can think about it and say, I don't really want it that bad. I'll just do without it. So you don't have to call and talk to a salesperson to upgrade your plan. You can, with most of them, you can upgrade it while you're building on the website very quickly. Just like you can very easily change your cell phone plan. If you want to go from that limited data to the unlimited data plan. Questions about that?
Are there domestic plans and international overseas plans, or the same prices?
Same prices. From what I've seen, I mean, because you have a website and someone, if I'm here in North Carolina and I build a website and launch it, someone anywhere in the world could log into my website. So it's not restricted typically. I mean, you run into language barriers as to whether, but within that, that's about the only difference. If you were specifically targeting a particular country and it's not English speaking, that would, maybe present some issues you want to take a look at.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to briefly talk about the different website builders and some of the ways you might compare and contrast them. But the real work is your homework. I'm going to give you links to a couple of different articles that review the different website builders in detail, so you can read about them and use that to help you decide which one you want to try. But just for a very high overview, and this is from one of those articles I'm sending you, but I like this. It's a nice quick one-page summary. The names you're going to see as you go from one review to the other are pretty much consistent. These 3 are in everybody's top 5 that I've seen it for a long time. In fact, everything in this list is very typical in the list. So they're fairly consistent. The order they rank them in changes. So if you look at another one, it may have Doodah as number 1 and Squarespace second and Wix as number 5, but it's kind of all still the same cast of characters. This particular reviewer picked Wix as the overall best website builder. And by saying best for free is they've got that unlimited with ads. So if you let Wix put ads on your website, there's no cost. Now here's something else you have to check, but typically that's if you're at that first tier. If you want this tier, you're probably not going to get that for free. So that's for the cheapest tier. It's a way to get you in and started. And if that's all you ever need, you can stay free forever. If not, it's $13 a month. This one, Squarespace, this reviewer says they have the best prepackaged designs, and that's the templates I've been talking about. Fairly common comment about Squarespace. They have very nice templates. They don't do the free, unlimited free, but they give you a 14-day free trial. And 14 days is plenty of time to, if not completely build a website, is to build enough of it to see if you like the way it's going, if it's making sense. And again, lots of times this is really just your personal preference. You may try Squarespace and say, wow, this makes perfect sense to me. I love this. And I may try it and say, this is just the most convoluted thing I've ever tried to figure out. I don't get it. And if you're not getting it, go try a different one, because if you're in that 15-day trial, all it cost you is the time you spent working with one that didn't really work for you. And you've also learned some things about building websites in the process. So don't be afraid to try one. And if it's not feeling good, go try another one. Weebly, easiest to use, very common comment about Weebly, and that continuum from easy to use to customization. Weebly is typically way over there on the left-hand side. Doodah is more on the other side, most customizable. So it gives you lots of options, means it's a little more complicated to build than Weebly, but you can tweak it more. GoDaddy is kind of over there with Weebly on that far left-hand side, best no frills option. You may recognize the name. We talked about this as one of the hosting providers, but they also provide a website builder package, a very limited one. Also the least expensive. Well, actually the next one's the least expensive. WordPress is kind of interesting. WordPress has been around forever, and a large percentage of the websites out there were built with WordPress. I think what's happened is some of these newer ones have kind of passed them by in terms of ease of use, but it's still a good, solid company that's been around forever. This writer says it's really good for writers and bloggers and personal websites, maybe more so than a big e-commerce site. And again, you can read the reviewers' comments about that. It does have unlimited with ads, and it's only $5 a month for the first tier. All of them have multiple tiers. Just quickly mention these last two, because these are for big e-commerce sites. I mean, you can build an e-commerce website with any of these. I mean, you could have an organization selling 500, 700 or more items on Wix, Weebly, Squarespace with no problem. This is the kind of organizations that are selling thousands and thousands of items. They're shipping internationally. They're doing lots of specials, and they're hoping to get even bigger. Then that bumps you up into the Shopify or BigCommerce level. And the price kind of reflects that. They're by far the most expensive. All right, questions here. And again, I'll give you links to this review and another review, so you can get two different people's opinions of how these work and which ones are best for different types of things. Let's move to the demo. Timing is good. We got time to do a pretty good little demo. Hopefully the demo will make a lot of this conceptual material a little more concrete. So I'm going to go to Squarespace, which is the site I'm going to demo for you. And one thing I'll say about all of these is that they're assuming that people coming here don't have much experience. They're novices, so they provide lots of assistance and lots of help. I'll kind of point that out as we go along. First thing I'm going to do is go to, well, while I'm talking about that, let me just click on resources. So resources is where you would go to get help. There's a help center. They've got webinars. They've got tutorials. So they provide lots of information to help you build your website. I'm going to go to products first, though, and talk about domain names. Since we said that's one of the things you've got to have to launch your website. You can build it first, but you can't make it live on the internet without a domain name. If you happen to have one already, you can transfer it into Squarespace. Most of you probably don't have one, so you're going to need to get a domain name. So I'll click there on Find a Domain Name. And all you do is type your business's name right here. And I had a business called Eagle Springs Farm, so I'll use that just as a for instance. And what I would probably want is eaglespringsfarm.com. Somebody's got that. It's not available. So only one business anywhere in the world can have that domain name. So I can't pick that one. That one is even nicer, eaglesprings.farm. It's shorter, but it says all the same things. It's $50 though. Most of these are $20, so this one's nice, and they know it's nice, so it costs you more. Even though $50 a year, and you break it down how much it is per day, it's pretty cheap, less than a cup of coffee. You could have eaglespringsfarm.net, and there's lots and lots of others. That's one of the biggest things that's changed over the years. Used to be there were only about 5 different dots. Now it goes on and on in terms of the available. If you need more, you can click load more. What's happening now is that what comes after the dot is an indication of the type of business. So if I was in the construction business and it was Eagle Springs Farm.construction would make sense. It tells what type of business I'm in. But again, you can keep loading more. The price range is 70 is I think the highest I've seen, 20 is the cheapest, and that is an annual subscription price. So what Squarespace is doing for me here is if I say, okay, I want this one, I'd click here and put it in my cart. It would hit my credit card that I've given them, and they would take care of registering that for me at the domain registry. They'll let me know when it's time to renew it next year, and I can just click here and say, okay, renew me for another year. They handle all the paperwork and the processing, which is, I think, worth a little bit of time. Yeah, to see your comment, Joanne, a free domain name is not possible. A free subdomain name is possible. You have to pay for a domain name. At least I don't know of any way to get one for free. But if a lot of these website builders, I'm not sure Squarespace does it, but they will give you a subdomain that hangs off of their domain that they're paying for. So that's the free version. Any other questions about domain names before we leave here?
Yeah. Do you know if WordPress has free subdomain names?
I'm pretty sure they do. I'm not positive, but yeah, if you're wanting a subdomain name, that's one of the things to check when you're comparing the different vendors, because those things change. So even if they used to, they may not any longer. So I'm always afraid to say yes or no, because I'm certainly not intimate with the latest version of all the different vendors. So yeah, that's something to check if that's something you want.
I heard someone get a domain name from Google. Do you know how to do that?
I think Google may do the domain name registry. So if they do, it's kind of the same process. You would go to a website, to a page, and tell them what the name is, and Google would tell you what it's going to cost to get it. I mean, you're not getting it from Google. Google is processing your domain request. The domain registries are centralized. That way they make sure that only one person has that domain name. So all the different places you can go to get one all funnel through a single registry. But yeah, there's lots of different places to go and get a domain name. If you just Google get domain name, you'll find several pages of places that will help you find a domain name. And if you get one from someplace else, like if you get it from Google, then you would have to come here and transfer that domain name into Squarespace. All right, so let's go next to templates. We talked a lot about templates already. Let's see what those are and what they look like. And if you've used Word or PowerPoint or Excel or almost any other Office package, you know what templates are. And they work pretty much the same with a website as it does with a Word document. These are the templates. So I could come down here and just start scrolling through and looking at templates, but there are tons and tons of them. So what all of them do is they give you a way to pick the ones that are going to work best with the type of business or organization you have. So if I'm in the food business, or if I'm in the travel business, or I have a restaurant, I could click here and it would show me templates that work well for restaurants. If I'm in the, if I want a personal website, or if I'm in a photography business, we saw that one photography one, I could click photography instead and say, show me websites that would work well if I'm in the photography business. And it gives me different set of templates. So I can kind of scroll through these and look at them. If I see one that I sort of like, I can preview it. And that just brings it up so I can see it a little better, see what it would look like. And one thing to check as well, these size based on the device that's using it. So if I'm on a computer, it would look one way. If I'm looking at it from a smartphone, it's going to look different. Most of the website builders now resize automatically for the form factor that's being used. So you don't have to have 3 different versions or deal with that yourself. The website builder deals with all that as well. That's where these website builders take a lot of the work out of the way.
So Squarespace, Squarespace essentially sort of does it all for you.
Yes, they will take care of, they'll provide the templates, they'll host your, host everything, they'll help you get your domain name, they'll link you up to credit card services. So yeah, it is pretty much, these are all the ones we talked about are those all-in-one options. Now, if you're a big company, I mean, if you're a large corporation, you're going to want to do most of this yourself. So you wouldn't use Squarespace if I'm Amazon. Obviously, they build everything from scratch. They host it on their own computers. But if you're, a small business, it's nice to have somebody that takes care of all of that for you.
We have come a long way from Illustrator.
Yeah, I built a website a long time ago, and you had to get into the HTML coding and tweak the pages.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you don't need to know any of that stuff anymore.
We're talking a while back. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's like another example. This would be for clothing. If you sell clothing, there's a template that's already set up where it's very easy to do that. I'm going to demo an online store so I can show you how that works. I need to hurry up here, but so again, these are templates for online stores or web e-commerce. And I'm looking for one in particular that I like. There's one that'd be good if you're selling plants. And what have they done with mine? Oh, here it is. So I'm going to demo a organic produce. So I'm going to use this one. It looks like it would be a good one for organic produce. So I'm just going to say start with Hester. Hester's the name of that template. It copies the template into my workspace at Squarespace, or I can start to customize it. And this is where they sort of help me get started. They say, what's your name of your business? We're going to call it Southport Produce, for lack of a better name, and continue. And they've got several pages where they kind of walk you through, okay, here's what you need to do next. And then then you need to do this. Like I said, they're all very tutorial in nature. They don't assume you know how to do this. I'm going to flip through this quickly. But if you were doing this, you would want to read this. And I say, okay, get started. So it brings me into the editing part of the application. So far, all it's done is change the name to be Southport Produce. But now I can start editing it. And this is where it just works where you're editing this template. So for example, I don't want to call it Pickle Perfection. I may want to say Fresh Organic Produce. And this is also where you get into that ease of building versus customization. I'm not an artistic person. I'll just keep the font they have. I'll keep the colors they have, the size that they've picked. But if I wanted to change any or all of that, I could go in and change it. So Squarespace is kind of in the middle. It's probably still on the left-hand side, more toward ease of use, but it does give you ways to tweak more. But if you want to just go in and build something quick and easy, which is what I'm going to show you, just replace the boilerplate text with your text. Now, I don't like that picture. I don't like the color. I don't like the picture. So I'm going to click over here and change the background. I'm going to say replace that picture. And I've got several options. If I have a picture on my device that I want to use, I can upload it. I don't. I want to browse stock images and find something. Again, they curate it for me. They'll show me free images I can use, or if I want to get premium images that look better, but I'm going to have to pay for them, I can go here. I'm cheap. I'll go with free. I'm going to type produce since that's what I sell. And it's going to show me pictures of produce that I can use for free. I saw one up at the top that I kind of liked as I was scrolling by, so I'm going to grab that one. So yep, that looks good. Add that image. So it's uploading that image and putting it into my workspace. And there it is. So now I've changed my text. I've changed my background picture. I could go in and change other things, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea of how it works. I can save my changes. And I'm done for now working on that page. I'm going to click over here on pages. And this template has a home page. It has a shop page. It's got an Our Story page and a blog page. We talked about Our Story. Let me just click into that quickly. Ooh, very quickly. So it has Our Story. But what all I would do is I would take out this boilerplate text. And first I'm going to have to click Edit. And so I can take out this boilerplate text and replace it with my story. I tell my story, who I am, what I've done, what I want to do, but just by deleting the boilerplate text and putting in my text in its place. Save my changes, move on to the next page. To save time, I want to jump into the store and show you that quickly because we've only got about 2 minutes left here. And there's not a store page here, but that's not a problem. I can come up here. Oh, it is, sorry, shop. So I'm going to click on shop. And it brings me again to the stock images that they've got here. I could go down here and delete those all and build my own from scratch. I'm going to build one from scratch. I won't take the time to delete these, or I could edit these if I wanted to keep the same layout, but I'm just going to build one from scratch very quickly. It says, what are you selling? Is it physical? Is it digital? Am I downloading music or things? And it's physical, it's produce. And it says, what's the name of the first product? And I'm going to say pickles. And add a description. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can add an image, just like we did before. In this case, I do want to upload something from my computer. And there's some pictures of my pickles. So I'm going to click there, hit open, upload that picture. You can add more pictures. So if I have several views of my pickles, I can add several pictures. I can say what price I'm going to sell them for at $4.95. If I want to put them on sale, I showed you how that looked. I can say right now they're on sale for $3.98. You can get into other things like a lot of the websites will track your inventory. So you can put in there, I've got 20 of them, and every time I sell one, it will decrement my inventory so it can track that for me. That may bump me up to the next level if I do that, but that's where you can start building. And so far, it hasn't told me that I can't do anything I've shown you with the cheap version so far. And when I'm done, I can save this. And there's my pickles here, $4.95 on sale for $3.98. So again, the idea here was just to show you this is pretty simple. You don't need to know anything about programming. You don't need anything about design, colors and fonts and things. You can just take that template and build a website fairly quickly. And then you can even go back in later and tweak it if you want to make changes to it.